Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at 4. Danica Lewis in for Susan Simon, who's on the morning show this week. The growing season's over, but people still have plenty of yard work and plant questions.
Yeah.
And Lisa Briggs
Lots
is
of leaves to pick up.
Yes, especially the last couple of days.
No kidding, with all the wind out there.
Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company will be along later to take your plant and garden questions. We'll let you know when to call in. But first, here's what's making news on this Tuesday. Some lawmakers at the state capitol are pushing for paid family leave for all Wisconsin families.
And a popular sports bar on Madison's west side is planning to close to make way for an apartment building.
And the top U.S. diplomat in Ukraine testifies on Capitol Hill. President Trump is getting backlash after calling the impeachment inquiry a, quote, lynching.
Let's turn it over, though, first with a look outside and the weather words of the day. Again, those fall colors.
They're kind of gone now, I think.
I know, some of them, it's a little hit and miss there, but certainly more and more. But less wind Wednesday. That's what we like to hear. It's been quite breezy out there. Let's turn it over to Dave Caulfield out on the weather patio with the umbrella. Is it sprinkling out there?
Yeah, it was sprinkling, and then we had a quick little shower come through on the weather patio here. I doubt it even showed up on Doppler track. It is pretty light, that rain across the area. There's still a chance of maybe a few sprinkles or showers for the next few hours, but I think that activity really wrapping up as we get into this evening. Live look in Madison on the WISC-TV Skycam at those cloudy skies, 45 degrees. That wind is getting better, getting less breezy, but still on the breezy side in some spots, and that wind helping it feel like 40 degrees right now on the weather patio outside. Temperatures in some other spots, 46 in Janesville and in Monroe, 48 in Platteville, luxurious almost 50 degrees in Boscobel, but those wind speeds still out of the south and west at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. And still gusting close to 30 to 35 miles per hour south of Madison. So we'll still be breezy this evening, so those winds technically are diminishing to about 10 to 20 miles per hour overnight, and temperatures really aren't going all that far into the 40s with the clouds still around, but we will become partly cloudy overnight. So here is a look at your first alert traffic update. Monona Drive and the Beltline not looking too bad in either direction right now. We do have a flurry of stalled vehicles, though, across Dayton County, not causing too many delays right now. Some of those stalled vehicles near Verona Road and the Beltline, and also on Wisconsin 30 near Stoughton Road. So we are starting to see that normal Beltline traffic start to pile up in some spots, but not looking too bad on our drive times at this present time. 5 minutes Verona Road eastbound to John Nolan with an average speed of around 60 miles per hour, and a little bit slow Middleton to Sauk City westbound on 12, 19 minutes with an average speed of around 50 miles per hour. That is your first alert traffic update. We'll talk about some cooler temperatures on the way and what to expect as we head into this weekend in your first alert forecast.
Cooler than this.
Yeah, even cooler. Yeah, we could be talking about only about 40 degrees for highs pretty soon.
Yikes.
All right. Well, let's see in a few minutes. Thank you, Dave.
We start this afternoon in Washington as a key U.S. diplomat faces the closed-door panel with what Democrats are calling, quote, damning testimony.
This is all linked to the impeachment inquiry into President Trump's withholding of military aid to Ukraine days before a phone call in which the president asked Ukraine to investigate the Bidens. Nicole Killian is on Capitol Hill with the latest.
A tweet from President Trump comparing the House impeachment inquiry to a lynching is sparking outcry from Democrats on Capitol Hill.
I resent it tremendously.
And on the 2020 campaign trail.
How dare he? And yet again, it is an example of Donald Trump having no appreciation for the history of this nation.
White House spokesman Hogan Gidley says the president is being treated unfairly.
He's not comparing himself to those dark times. Let's be very clear about what he's doing. He is receiving zero due process from Democrats on the Hill. That's what he's talking about.
Some congressional Republicans backed up that sentiment.
I get his absolute rejection of the process. I wouldn't use the word lynching.
It is an unfair process, and a better way to characterize it would be to call it an unfair process.
The Congressional Black Caucus condemned the president's tweet while the impeachment inquiry showed no signs of slowing down.
Mr. Taylor.
Acting Ambassador to Ukraine Bill Taylor faced a crush of cameras on Capitol Hill. It was Taylor who raised red flags about a possible quid pro quo. He texted colleagues, "I think it's crazy to withhold security assistance for help with a political campaign."
This is my most disturbing day in Congress so far. Very troubling.
Sources described Taylor's closed-door testimony as lengthy and damning and said he did not walk back his position on the text messages. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia, Ukraine, Eurasia, Laura Cooper, is expected to appear on Capitol Hill as a part of the impeachment inquiry tomorrow.
Wisconsin parents and caretakers, even people who get sick themselves, could all have the option to take paid time off if a new proposal passes at the state capitol.
As Rose Schmidt explains, it faces an uphill battle. Rose?
Yes, there are many reasons why people choose to take leave from work to welcome a new baby or an aging parent or their own health condition. The Family Medical Leave Insurance Act would help guarantee that those employees get paid for up to 12 weeks of leave. The program would be paid for completely by the employees who choose to participate and not by their workplaces. A small percentage would be taken from their paycheck and put into a trust fund. This is the third attempt to pass this bill, and it has failed to receive support from any Republicans.
So we're hoping as time goes on and more states join in that people will see the value of it. And I've talked in the past about my own experience where my son broke his leg and I had to be home with him for several months. And it definitely has a financial impact on families.
The proposal would also expand the current law to allow employees to take family leave to care for grandparents, grandchildren, and siblings, as well as family members who are deployed overseas. In a previous session, the bill got a public hearing, but it has failed to receive any bipartisan support. Republican leadership did not respond to our request for comment, and the state's largest business lobby, Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, says it needs to see the language before it can provide any position on this bill.
All right, Rose Schmidt, thanks for the update.
New at 4, a longtime Westside Madison restaurant will close next month ahead of construction. Babe's Sports Grill will close on November 16th before it's demolished and a new affordable apartment complex is built in its place. The owners say they are planning to include a new restaurant inside the building, which is expected to be completed sometime in 2020. It is that time of year again for downtown Madison.
Freak Fest returns with 3 stages this Saturday in the downtown area. Always plenty of traffic and safety reminders for those planning to attend. Eric Franke is here with more information. Eric?
Yeah, Mark and Danica, we all remember all too well 2005, the last year that this was not a ticketed event. There were more than 330 arrests that year. Now, last year, there were only 13, despite over 32,000 tickets being sold. It is billed as the region's largest Halloween party. National acts like Lil Yachty and the Gin Blossoms will take the stage Saturday night, along with regional and local acts presented by Frank Productions. Police will be very present, as has been the norm in recent years. They played a big role in the transformation of Freak Fest from the mayhem that the city, especially State Street retailers, had to experience back in the early 2000s.
Downtown around Halloween was not always the favorite time for our businesses and our retailers. There was a little bit of chaos and a bit of trouble. Instead, we now have a great event for the community. The event is enjoyable for many. Our restaurants, our bars, and our retailers are all excited to welcome you downtown.
Now, from a traffic standpoint, Lake, Johnson, and Dayton Streets all close at 5. Gorham will close at 6. There's no crossing or getting onto State Street at that time. You need to have a ticket to be on State Street at all at 7 p.m. And the police also want to remind people in costume, leave behind any part of your costume that even remotely looks like a weapon, or they will take it away from you. No glass, no alcohol can be brought onto State Street. And there will be hundreds of officers present, and they'll also be monitoring with city cameras. Mark and Danica.
All right. Thank you so much, Eric. Appreciate it. Overseas, the ceasefire in northern Syria is officially over, and Kurdish military leaders say their fighters have left an area that borders Turkey. Syrian rebels backed by Turkey say they are ready to move into military outposts abandoned by Kurdish fighters who have left that region between Syria and Turkey. The U.S. orchestrated the break in fighting after President Trump ordered U.S. troops to leave, and now Russia has emerged as a major power broker in the region. President Vladimir Putin sat down with Turkey's president today to discuss bringing peace to the Syrian border. They reached a deal to jointly patrol the area and further push back Kurdish fighters, who Turkey considers to be terrorists. Until recently, Kurdish fighters had partnered with the United States to fight ISIS.
British police are traveling to the United States to interview the wife of an American diplomat. She's accused of causing a deadly car crash, then leaving the country. Police are interviewing Anna Sekulis, the wife of an American diplomat. She was allegedly behind the wheel on the wrong side of the road when she crashed into a 19-year-old who was riding his bicycle in the English countryside. She fled the country under diplomatic immunity, reportedly in a U.S. Air Force plane. Detectives last questioned Sekulis 2 months ago, the day after the crash. Police say she is cooperating, but will only speak on American soil. While diplomatic immunity prevents them from suing Sekulis, the family can sue the American government for damages.
This was a huge story when I was abroad.
Oh, really?
And yeah, absolutely. A big-time story. It is very, very sad. CBS This Morning's done a lot of work with it.
So they're coming over here to interview her.
Absolutely. All right, there is more to come at 4. New studies show infants should not sleep on an incline.
We'll tell you what that means if your baby dozes off in a car seat and whether you need to wake them up. Consumer Reports says the answers when Live at 4 continues.
Back, Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul says he is joining a bipartisan coalition, that is, of attorneys general to investigate Facebook for antitrust issues.
This comes as Facebook's CEO says he has already seen Russia and Iran trying to interfere in the 2020 election. Mark Zuckerberg says new security measures will target misinformation, including more prominent labels on posts that have false or partially false information. Among other things, the company announced it has removed 4 networks of fake accounts, 3 based in Iran and 1 in Russia, that sought to disrupt elections around the world.
They signal that these nation states intend to be active in the upcoming elections. But it's also, I think, a sign that we've been able to proactively identify them.
And in a sign we may be in for a repeat of 2016, analysts found Instagram accounts linked to a Russian network that posed as activists on both ends of the political spectrum. Zuckerberg believes it isn't for tech companies to decide what people can and cannot see on the internet, but that his company should do more to stop the spread of misinformation and election meddling. In the UK, lawmakers have voted to reject Minister Boris Johnson's Brexit timetable for the rest of the week. The government hoped to move the bill through all stages in the House of Commons by Thursday. Johnson says earlier that if the vote failed, he would scrap his Brexit deal and push for a snap election. And that vote had a negative effect on Wall Street. The Dow Industrials lost 38 points, closing at 26,789. The NASDAQ fell 58. The S&P 500 was off 10.5. Well, recent recalls of the Fisher-Price Rock and Play Sleeper and other infant incline sleep products have highlighted the dangers of putting babies to sleep on an incline.
And that means it has some parents wondering if it's okay for babies to sleep in car seats. That can be really hard to avoid. Josh Spreiter and Consumer Reports have the story.
The ankle position of this Fisher-Price Rock and Play Sleeper can cause an infant's head to tilt forward and compress the airway, increasing the risk of suffocation. Consumer Reports is aware of at least 54 reported deaths linked to infant sleepers like these. But infants often fall asleep in car seats, which also position children at an inclined angle. Is that safe?
Yes, you can let your baby sleep in a car seat as long as it's used properly. While the risks of sleeping at an incline are real and serious, they are vastly outweighed by the protection that a properly installed car seat provides during a crash.
The angle of rear-facing car seats, including the kind for infants, has been extensively tested and is necessary to protect a child's head and spine in a collision. You can check the recline indicator to confirm your child's car seat has been installed with an appropriate recline angle for your child's age. And here's an important reminder. Car seats, even those that you can remove from a vehicle to lock into a stroller, are meant to be used only while you're with a baby or able to observe him or her, not for extended or overnight sleep.
Infant car seats have a 5-point harness system, which are designed and tested not only to protect your baby in the event of a crash, but also to lower the risk of your baby slumping down and their head falling chin to chest and blocking airflow.
The best sleep advice for parents: follow the safe sleep recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Babies should sleep alone on their backs with no soft bedding or padding and always on a firm, flat mattress. With this, Consumer Reports, Josh Spreiter, News 3 Now.
So if you are on a long car trip, make sure to pull over occasionally to check in on your infant or toddler.
And CR warns that no car seat will fully protect your baby if it's not installed and used correctly. You can have your seat installation checked by an expert at a seat checkup event. They happen all the time.
All the time, yeah, definitely. So there's more to come at 4. Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company will answer your plant and garden questions during the next half hour.
And tonight at 5, we're looking at how a wheel tax in Madison would affect moms and children who rely on federal aid to buy food. We'll share that story coming up at 5.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Well, take a look at this. Home security video captures Cesar Schmidt in his backyard in Brazil struggling to contain a cockroach infection. The 52-year-old tried insecticide. That didn't work, so he dumps gasoline down the hole, tries to set it on fire. On his third attempt, there is a jaw-dropping explosion. He destroys the lawn, sending a garden table shooting through the air, leaving his 2 dogs scampering for their lives. The good news, the roach problem's been solved. The bad news, he needs to replant his lawn.
Yeah, no kidding. Do some tilling and
how much gas did he pour down
That's
there?
what I'm wondering. Is like, did the cockroaches like explode? Like, do they have explosive powers?
Well, they're tough to get. I don't know if. I mean, he says it's resolved, but do we really know?
That's true. Maybe the cockroaches hid TNT down there like the old cartoons and were like, hee hee.
I love the dog. Just like,
I know, like, oh,
what are you doing?
Idiot.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to
All right.
stick with an exterminator, I think. Yeah.
You know, I got to do some yard work too. Maybe that's the answer.
Leaves everywhere. I mean, if you didn't get a chance to see the foliage this weekend, you're probably seeing it on your lawns, everywhere.
In my garage.
Yeah, in your foyer, if you will. Class this show up a little bit. We will talk. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about what to expect for this weekend in your First Alert forecast in just a few leaves. Good afternoon. I hope you had a really nice Tuesday so far. It really hasn't been a very nice Tuesday weather-wise with this powerful low-pressure system. We can actually see that huge circulation on our visible cloud track map, and these clouds really not going anywhere anytime soon. Until we get into later tonight, we might see a little bit of a decreasing trend with those clouds. So we'll start out partly sunny tomorrow before Yep, you guessed it. The clouds come back with another chance of maybe some showers as well. You can see just how huge this low pressure system is. The pressure gradient is impressive as well, which is helping to create those really strong winds that we experienced today. Maximum wind gusts in Madison of 35 miles per hour, close to 50 miles per hour near the state line today. And some other values that kind of jump off the page here. 48 mile per hour gusts in Monroe earlier, 37 in Watertown, 40 near the lakeshore in Milwaukee and Kenosha, and close to 50 in Dubuque, Iowa as well. And with those winds still breezy at about 10 to 20 miles per hour sustained, it feels like 42 in Madison, but it feels like the freezing mark in the Dells. So this is one of those chilly and raw fall days that I was looking online saying, you really wanted fall weather? Well, here you go. Here's fall weather for you. Madison on the Edgewater Skycam, we saw some leaves falling just now on the Edgewater Skycam. Overlooking the Capitol there, 51 degrees the high today, although it didn't really feel like the 50s at all. Still running about 5 degrees below normal for this time of year. We did pick up a couple hundredths of an inch of rain this morning as well. So overall, about 3/10 of an inch of rain over the last couple of days, getting our monthly total up now over 4.8 inches. So that means we have had twice our normal value of rainfall in the month of October, and we still have a week and change to go with more rain chances possible. So we're probably dry with the exception of a few more sprinkles this evening, maybe a light shower or two, but then after starting off partly sunny tomorrow, we get mostly cloudy skies with another chance of some showers tomorrow afternoon into the early evening hours. The good news is, although it will be chilly, Thursday does look dry with those temperatures in the 40s. And we're still pretty chilly on Friday as well, but we do get the sunshine back to start this weekend. Then in the 50s for Saturday and Sunday, pretty close to normal for this time of year. But as we end the month of October, there are no sure things in weather forecasting, but this is pretty close. It really does look like all signs pointing to quite the chilly end to the month of October and the start of November as well, with highs only near 40 degrees. That will run about 10 to 15 degrees below normal for that time of year. Temperatures tonight dipping into the mid-30s, showers ending, and then breezy and cooler with some decreasing clouds. Then tomorrow, starting off with the sun early, then cloudy, with some showers possible during the afternoon and evening. So we can see those clouds on their way out for the most part. There still will be some overnight. Temperatures will dip into the mid-30s. Then tomorrow we could see another round of showers possible. Note the time here, folks. This is around 3 or 3:30. So moving in from the west, I would have that umbrella ready to go and maybe the rain jacket as well by the time we get to the afternoon and even into the early evening hours. Thursday, after starting off on a quite the chilly note in the low to mid 30s, highs only in the mid 40s with a westerly breeze, but at least we'll see that sunshine as we get into the end of the work week. Rainfall totals about a quarter to possibly a half an inch in some spots by the end of Wednesday. I think it will be closer to the quarter of an inch value generally across southern Wisconsin. So 10-day forecast, we are in the 50s this weekend with dry conditions for the most part. There's a slight chance of a shower late Saturday into early Sunday, but that won't really affect too many of us. And then the 40s look like the name of the game as we head into the start of the next work week. We'll be talking about some rain and snow showers as we head into Tuesday night and Wednesday.
When the bottom falls out around here, it goes fast.
Oh yeah, there's no rest for the wicked, no waiting. It just boom. Yeah.
Right in time for the kids to layer up underneath the Halloween costumes.
Yeah, they're gonna have to be some puffy costumes.
Yeah.
I suggest the Michelin Man.
Hey,
That's my.
Yeah, I like that. An eggplant.
Or a quilt.
Or
goes
a quilt. Just goes with a blanket.
with eggplant.
Yeah, that'd be good too. Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Well, when it comes to insurance coverage, the law is clear. The federal mental health parity legislation passed in 2008 requires health insurers to provide, quote, at least equal coverage for mental health conditions as they do for medical and surgical care.
But Dr. John LaPook shows us how some families still have to fight to get life-saving care for their loved ones.
You can see, in just looking at it, how close they are.
They were very, very close. They did everything together, which was very troubling when Nicole passed.
In 2013, Brian Cada's 15-year-old daughter took her own life. A year and a half later, his younger daughter attempted suicide.
She was unable to really process the death of her sister. She kept it inside.
Residential treatment was denied. A less intensive level of care was approved.
The hospital said what that translates to is your daughter has not failed often enough to get a longer-term treatment center.
So she has to have attempted suicide
Yes.
several times, each time rolling the dice, because it might actually succeed.
That's correct.
After a second suicide attempt, she was approved for residential care. After 3 weeks there, the clinical staff described an increase in suicidal ideation and that she clearly met criteria to continue treatment there. But just days later, the insurer, United Behavioral Health, part of United Health Group, wrote, "The services asked for are not medically needed."
They were basically protecting their profitability.
Cato could only afford another 3 weeks.
It takes time, and because she didn't have that time, she went back into a withdrawal situation.
My son was homeless 3 different times because he was discharged from the hospital and there was no program for him to go into.
Sylvia Tawes has kept a meticulous record of her son's mental illness and her efforts to get his treatments covered.
9 of 10 times you're getting denied the kind of care that you know your loved one requires.
He has schizoaffective disorder, diagnosed in his teens, and has been hospitalized more than a dozen times.
This is one of the more historic farms.
He now works with Tawes and her husband on the family's organic farm. They have depleted their retirement savings paying for his mental health care.
They have issued coverage through tomorrow.
Tawes played us this 2016 voicemail from a care coordinator discussing how many more days would be covered at a residential care facility.
If his symptoms have worsened, that was the reason.
Let me just, if his symptoms have worsened, they're letting you know the only chance of greater care is if your child's symptoms get worse. And then you end up where you're oddly, slightly hoping that something worsens.
Another thing is maybe getting Medicaid for him or
So-
a Medicaid plan.
You hear the suggestion that your son get Medicaid from the United Healthcare people.
Yep. And why should this be schlepped off to taxpayers? There shouldn't be the lobbying. It should be there's a diagnosis, this requires long-term care.
A class action lawsuit claimed patients were illegally denied benefits based on United Behavioral Health's internal guidelines. Attorney Mehram Bendat is co-counsel for the plaintiffs.
You're the managed care reviewer and I'm the patient or the provider. I could protest all I want and you could always hold up your guidelines and say, look, you just don't meet these criteria. But what if the criteria themselves are just flagrantly off base?
And you think they are?
Well, I don't think so. The court thought so.
Earlier this year, the federal court ruled against UBH and called the guidelines flawed, unreasonable, and more restrictive than generally accepted standards of care, and that financial incentives infected the guideline development process.
And there's thousands of families in our situation, and they eventually give up. There's no more money to fund care.
Tawes says her son is now stable and living with them. Kata's daughter left that residential facility in 2017, and now they have very little contact.
It's my belief that she blames me for the loss of her sister.
Where does that leave you?
It leaves me with the sensation that I have really lost both daughters.
United Behavioral Health told CBS News, "We want our members to have the mental health support they need when they need it." The company says it is revising guidelines to be more in line with the way practicing clinicians actually determine the level of care a patient needs. Dr. John LaPook, CBS News, New York.
And make sure you tune in to see CBS This Morning's live special, Stop the Stigma, a conversation about mental health. That's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow at 8 a.m., their 8 o'clock hour. We also still have resources on our Time to Talk campaign over on the website, channel3000.com. You can just click on the Time for Kids tab.
It's such an important topic.
It's an important conversation to have, and that insurance one is not rare. It is a very challenging and problematic issue for a lot of families out there.
More common than it should be.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
All right, still to come at 4, more and more adult children are depending on their parents financially.
You may be surprised at the percentage of parents helping their grown children out. We will have the numbers when Live at 4 continues.
Here's a live look at downtown Madison from here at the station on the west side.
It's wobbling a little bit.
Yeah, a little windy out there, but not too bad. It's getting better.
Getting better.
Well, despite a strong economy and low unemployment, many adult children are leaning on their parents for financial support.
That's right. Sukanya Krishnan reports.
Jonathan and Ben Perry were living on their own, but after some financial setbacks, the 31 and 28-year-old brothers moved back in with their parents.
My house burned down at one point. Life takes whatever turn it wants to, and it's up to you to how you deal with it and how you perceive it.
It's a choice that we've made. We believe in family.
The Perrys are not alone. A Merrill Lynch survey last year found 79% of parents financially support an adult child between the ages of 18 and 34. Some have their kids living at home. Others are paying their children's bills. 25% said that they would be willing to draw from retirement savings to do it.
You want to help your kids, you don't want to enable them.
CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says high student debt and low wages for entry-level jobs are big reasons why many young adults are depending on their parents.
You say to your kids, okay, it's time for you to get back on your feet. We get that.
So have that tough conversation.
Exactly. We're going to have a hard talk right now, and we're going to set some boundaries, some ground rules.
Some of those ground rules include setting a move-out date and having adult children contribute to rent, utilities, and groceries.
Really, what you want to do as a parent is create this independent adult child.
The brothers are contributing at home and helping pay the family bills. They're also watching what they spend.
I'm saving a lot more money.
The plan is to use those savings to move back out on their own again. Sukanya Krishnan, CBS News, New York.
79%.
I know, that's very high, isn't it?
High.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a plant or garden question, now is the time to get it answered.
That's right. Lisa Briggs is standing by live at the Bruce Company in Middleton, ready to take your calls. The number, 270-9933. And watch out, she'll take your head if she can, apparently, and plant some plants in it. We'll have that coming up.
Good afternoon. Here's your first alert traffic update. Taking a live look at Monona Drive and the Beltline. No incidents to talk about in either direction right now. Traffic is moving smoothly at this point, but there are quite a few stalled vehicles showing up across Dane County. One on the interstate, one on Wisconsin 30, and one on 12 near Verona Road. And we are noticing those normal delays on the Beltline eastbound, not looking great from about Verona Road through Park Street to about Broadway, and westbound from Park Street to, we'll call it Todd Drive, Seminole Highway area. So here are your drive times right now. 24 minutes eastbound from University Ave to the interstate, average speed of around 40 miles per hour. Some other routes in and around Madison. Westbound Milton to Sauk City now up to 24 minutes with an average speed of around 40 miles per hour. That is your first alert traffic update.
All right, Dave, thank you. Move over Walking Dead. Over 11,000 bicycling dead prowl the streets of Key West for the annual zombie bike ride. Some people wore traditional zombie garb, while others wore costumes, everything from evil clowns to skeletons to undead brides. The zombie bike parade culminated at the annual Zombie Fest street party on Duval Street. The decadent 10-day Fantasy Fest celebration started on Friday.
These. That takes a lot of work.
Pretty impressive.
No kidding. And to stay up on the bike with all that, that's a whole nother...
You know, they have way too much fun in Key West. Every day. It's like a party. Well, the growing season is officially over, but that doesn't mean your yard work is over.
Yeah, far from over. Time to get your plant and garden questions answered. Again, that number right now is 270-9933. Lisa Briggs ready to take those calls over at the Bruce Company. Lisa, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. That wind, though, is whipping. It certainly is. So any suggestions while people have a lot of leaves on the ground? Any suggestions for cleanup or even pruning those plants?
Well, for pruning, there's really not a lot you should be pruning right now. You could cut back some perennials, but most of the pruning you want to wait till things are dormant or to do it in the spring as things are budding out. But definitely if you've got leaves on your lawn, you want to get those off the lawn, especially if you've got like things like maple leaves or ash, because those will compact, lay around on the soil all wet, and then it can cause a lot of lawn diseases come spring. So you definitely want to take advantage of the kind of nicer weather this weekend, get those raked up, and either put them in your compost or out for the city to collect, or if you've got some wild areas in your yard where you have garden beds or shrubs, you can dump them in there.
All right, let's go to the phones. We'll start with Lorraine. Hi, Lorraine, what's your question?
Hi, can you tell me how long I have yet to plant perennials, whether it's bulbs or plants or roots? I have a new flower that I need to plant.
I think you can go ahead and put in spring blooming bulbs yet until probably close to the end of the month. If you're putting in perennials, though, I would definitely, after the ground freezes, I'd put a nice layer of mulch on top to keep the ground from thawing. That freeze-thaw cycle will sometimes heave perennials out of the ground. Once the roots are exposed, they're kind of toast if we have some really cold temperatures. So bulbs are fine, perennials are fine if you've got some extra, take some extra protective means later, you know, close to, I would say, Thanksgiving. Put some mulch down.
Okay.
All right, turn it over to Nancy in Watertown. Nancy, what's your question?
Yes, I was wondering, I have a mum plant that I have, and I have it still in the pot. Now, how do I keep that till next spring?
Well, if it is like one of the big cushy garden mums, the big cushion shaped with all the flowers, a lot of those mums are not really very hardy here. There are some hardy varieties, but they would be marked as a hardy mum. So you can plant it in the ground, and certainly if you do some winter protection, some boughs or something over it, it might come back next spring. But just so that you know, that big cover of blossoms is the result of a lot of pinching and a lot of fertilizer and a lot of care in the greenhouse. So it's unlikely that it's going to look like that. It'll look a little bit more straggly, like this one, where it's more upright, more stems, certainly a lot fewer blossoms.
All right, turning it over now to Darlene in Spring Green. Darlene, what's your question?
My question is, I have a Christmas cactus that's it's several years old, and it always bloomed every Christmas. And then I set it outside one summer, brought it back in, and I cannot get it to bloom for the last Probably last three years.
Christmas cactus blossom or blooming is triggered by day length and also a little bit of a temperature change. So they're great outside in the summer, and even though you would want to bring most of your house plants in before the night temperatures get much below 48 or 49, Christmas cactus you can leave out a little bit longer. So maybe move it into a sunny room, like a bedroom, where you don't have lights on for long periods of time. It really needs to see that daylight shortening, and if you have it in a place with a lot of artificial light, a lot of times that will delay the flower bud production.
All right, let's go to Judy in Lodi. Hi, Judy. What's your question?
Well, I would like to know if I had brought in a huge mandevilla. It's like 6 feet tall. And I want to know where I have it, if I can cut it back, it's in full bloom, if I'm going to cut it back, if it's going to hurt it, or in the same way with the hibiscus.
Okay, so mandevilla and hibiscus are going to need to be in the sunniest part of your house. And if they're in bloom, let them finish up. But once the bloom period is over, you'll notice that they'll start to get a little bit straggly. So you can go ahead and cut them back after the flowering period is done. Watch the watering, make sure that you don't overwater. They use a lot less water during the dormancy period. And then once we get past, say, Groundhog's Day, you'll start to see some new bud development, and then you can kick in a little bit of fertilizer and step up your watering.
All right, get out in the yard this weekend. It's going to be some nice weather.
Definitely. Lisa, thanks. It's always good to hear from you.
Thanks, everyone.
See you guys later.
See you later.
Thanks, everyone, for calling in. We'll do it again soon, and we'll have a final training forecast coming up.
Ready to roll playback? 3,
The wind dying down, hopefully.
Yeah, still a little bit gusty at points, but definitely getting better into tonight and tomorrow morning. So we still do have wind gusts of about 20 to 30 miles per hour, especially south of Madison. Still close to 40 in Monroe and Janesville. For tonight, temperatures dipping into the mid-30s. A little bit of clouds decreasing, breezy and cooler with the showers, any of them still out there, ending early. Tomorrow we get showers back in the afternoon and evening with highs
near 50.
Man, soon we'll be praying for these temperatures,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It seems like it. Well, thanks, Dave. Tomorrow on Live at 4, we'll find out what one UW professor is proposing to make U.S. elections more secure.
And we'll go behind the wheel with Harvey Briggs in a sporty Toyota Camry. Yeah, it's a thing. It's tomorrow. In today's Final Touch, and another one bites the sandwich.
A woman has conquered an eating challenge.